What's going on, guys? K-Pine here and welcome back. I've got a good one for you today, where in this video I'll be showcasing the battles that got me to Legend in Season 13 of the GOBattleLeague. This team has such good coverage on the meta, where Obstagoon, or as we like to call it here, Boostagoon, is a fantastic core breaker to a lot of the meta teams you'll see, where oftentimes a ghost type like Trevenant is paired up with a steel like G-Fisk, or Sableye with a Reggie or even Basti, all of which allow Boostagoon to really shine. Now, you are going to want to safe swap the Lantern on this team, of which oftentimes baits out a G-Fisk so the Noctowl doesn't have to see it. The only times you'll want to safe swap the Noctowl is when your Lantern has a fantastic matchup against the lead, such as an Azu, Tapu Fini, or Pelipper. And speaking of which, yes, I am running Spark. On this team, Spark is pivotal to help you with those Azu, Tapu Fini, or Pelipper leads. And yeah, even when a G-Fisk gets counter swapped into your Lantern, you are still able to tank an Earthquake and get to 2 surfs before getting Mudshot down, and all without giving up a shield. If you want to run this team during Go Battle Day or even the next few weeks while Open Great League is around, I highly recommend you do. And please feel free to ask me any questions in the comment section down below if you're not sure what to do against a specific lead or any other situation you may find yourself in with this team. And with that, let's get into the battles. Alright, getting into the first battle, we lead Obstagoon into Sableye. It's a fantastic lead for us, as we do have a really solid answer for it in the back as well in Noctowl. And if you notice, my opponent's staying in, so they could very well be double weak to it in the back. Potentially a steel type like I said earlier. We'll have to see what they have. I will shield this up to respect a return since they are staying in and I want to keep as much health as possible, but they bait me with a foul play. Very nice bait by them, but I am able to get that shield back. Over farming a little bit more since I am expecting them to play into the CMP tie, which I don't want to happen, and they end up baiting me with a foul play again. So it's a very nice bait because now they will be able to land this return. And we get the boost. Counters are going to start adding up. So we do eat this return. We have a boost, and they swap in a Bastiodon into our boosted Obstagoon. This is huge because now look at that counter damage. Bring it down way below half health. We get to align our Lantern on to this Bastiodon. I'm not going to throw the Surf right away. I'm going to let them throw a Stone Edge first and then farm up to 100 energy. Because if they're bringing a Bastiodon into a boosted Obstagoon, they most likely have something else weak to Obstagoon in the back, which in this case, I'm thinking is Galarian Stunfisk. So I farm it to 1 energy before throwing that Surf. Gonna load up more, throw off this another Surf right before this Sableye is gonna be able to get off another foul play. Would you look at that? It is the G-Fisk. So because of all that extra energy we farmed up, we're gonna be able to get 1 Surf off, get the second Surf off on the CMP tie. Does big damage to the G-Fisk. This Rock Slide will come through and take us out, and from here it's pretty safe and easy to bring our Noctowl in, who can just wing attack all the way down or get to a Shadow Ball if needed. Next matchup, Obstagoon into Medicham. Terrible lead for us. We are going to swap into that Lantern right away. And I do recommend, if they stay in with the Medicham, I do recommend throwing your Thunderbolt as soon as you get it, since it's 7 Sparks to a Thunderbolt and 8 to a Psychic. And if you throw, and since switching takes 1 turn, if you throw your Thunderbolt before they get to their Psychic, it negates that 1 turn desync on the switch. Where if you let them throw their Psychic first, you will get denied and won't get a fast move that you would otherwise by throwing first. Little tip there. But in this case, my opponent swaps in a Lickitung, and if I'm able to successfully call the Power Whips, I will be able to flip this matchup into 2 shield, which I am both times. I get a little scared here, not sure if they were going to reach another Power Whip in time or if I was going to be able to farm down, so I throw the Surf just to be safe. We take it out, and back in comes the Medicham. We are going to throw off this Thunderbolt for some pretty big neutral damage, but they shield it up. That's perfectly fine because we will actually be able to reach another Thunderbolt. But my opponent recognizes that, So they throw a move to take me out, but it's just a power-up punch. So we survive, able to waste that energy, get off the surf, and now we have our Noctowl aligned to the Medicham, which is exactly what we want. Boosted Psychic will do some good damage for us. And I over-farm here, watching for the catch, but they still catch it onto their Noctowl, and that's fine, because now I can just load up, store that Sky Attack for the Medicham right after, and then bring in my Obstagoon. And now here I have to be careful. I can't take out the Noctowl with too much HP, because then the Medicham will farm down my Obstagoon and leave with a move to win CMP against my Noctowl. So I either have to let my Obstagoon get really low, or be able to leave with a move on my Obstagoon to threaten the Medicham. And in this case, I'm lucky enough that I was able to get really low first, so the Medicham only gets one more counter of energy, allowing us to get to the Sky Attack before they're able to reach another Psychic or a move that would threaten. GG's. Next matchup, Obstagoon Lead. These are really tricky since I don't have a really good answer to catch a move on, whether it's a stay in, try and play for CMP, or try and catch the move. In this case, since Lantern is extremely bulky and I'm looking to potentially bait out a other counter to my Lantern that the Obstagoon could deal with. But in this case, the Obstagoon's staying in, and a Surf wouldn't quite KO from there, so I do go for a Thunderbolt for the knockout shot, and because they shield, I'm thinking that they're now weak to the Lantern in the back, so I will shield this. This does put the Obstagoon right in about Surf range. My timer comes up, I'm able to swap in, snipe the Obstagoon with the Cross Chop, see what they come in with, and it's an Azu, so it's a very good thing that I was able to recognize that and save my Lantern for the back end of this game. These Night Slashes aren't going to do much damage to the Azumarill, but any chip damage, any chip helps, especially when you're looking to go for a little bit of a spark farm down on the Azumarill, which we will right here when the Obstagoon gets taken out. So I'm going to wait out my timer, bring in my Lantern, and they're also staying in. So now it's like, wow, my Lantern is going to be really important because whatever they have in the back is also weak to the Lantern. So I'm going to load up on energy, throw this Thunderbolt right before they get to another move. This will take out the Azumarill, and they have a Skarmory, so that's huge because we're able to survive the Sky Attacks, get to yet another Thunderbolt. Now we can bring in our Noctowl, which would be able to tank a Brave Bird, and we could safely get to a Shadow Ball. Our opponent recognizes that, and they can see GG's to them. Well played. Next matchup. Obstagoon into Registeel. This is a somewhat neutral matchup. It gets Registeel wins in the zeros if they go straight Focus Blast, because Focus Blast does one-shot the Obstagoon, but the more shields you use, the better matchup it becomes. We just have to be careful and hope that they don't Zap Cannon bait us and get the debuff. If they Zap Cannon bait us, that's fine because we're planning on giving up a shield anyways, but if they get the debuff, then that is not fine because the subsequent counters and Cross Chop then won't knock out the Registeel. And in this case, we're able to, since we weren't debuffed, we're able to get there in time before the Registeel reaches another move. My opponent brings in an Altaria, so we're going to immediately pivot into our Lantern, of which they are staying in against. And that's great, because we are able to land this Thunderbolt and get that Altaria low, below half health, I should say. We will take this Moonblast. And now, since they are staying in against the Lantern, I'm reading that they're weak in the back, so I will bait. And since they have two shields, they are very likely to use one of them here, which they do. And at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? This is worth a shield because I can reach that Thunderbolt in time to either take out the Altaria or pressure their last shield. But my opponent swaps out to try and catch a Surf. But because I was loading up to that Thunderbolt, I'm able to hold on to my energy and get their last shield, where I can now safely swap in my Obstagoon and get to 2 Night Slashes before they're able to reach a return, which they do right here. Return is almost enough. One more Shadow Claw takes out the Obstagoon. I bring in my Noctowl, and now I just commit to a farm down onto the Sableye. Sableye settles for a foul play. One more wing attack, we get to the Shadow Ball, and this will be taking out the Altaria. And then we subsequently wing attack down the Sableye as well. GG's. Next battle, we lead Obstagoon into Froslass. Fairly neutral lead since they can survive a Night Slash and we're dealing resisted counter damage, while we also can survive an Avalanche in return. As in most situations with Boostagoon, if we are able to successfully get the boost, it makes this matchup a lot better for us. But in this case, we're not able to, and they swap out, make a catch on their Stunfisk. Nice catch, but this is exactly where we want to see it. So now we just stay in, and we're gonna start spamming off these cross chops, as if we are able to get switch advantage here, which we should be able to. We have our Lantern aligned to that Froslass, which is a very hard counter for it. So Froslass comes back in, we will be able to get their first shield with this Night Slash. And I was thinking here, you know, maybe potentially swap to catch the Lantern and save the Obstagoon for later, since a Froslass is already very low. But they threw that Avalanche right away, not allowing me to. So nice play by them. They're going to pivot into a Swampert, and we bring in our Noctowl, and this is a great matchup because it's a regular Swampert. So we are able to tank 2 Hydro Cannons. If this is a Shadow Swampert, Noctowl actually goes down to 2 Hydro Cannons. But because it's regular, we're able to survive 2 and get to the back-to-back wing attacks. First of which will land. Second of which will be getting their final shield. The Swampert is over farming as much as they can. We'll fire off this 3rd Hydro Cannon to take me out. And now they swap to try and catch on their Froslass, but their counting was off by 1. So we're able to double up to the Surfs. Throw the first one to take out the Froslass and the second one to take out the Swampert. GG's to my opponent. Alright, and now getting into the Legend set, we lead Obstagoon into Lickitung, looking for a 3-2 in this set, as we are at 29.95 ELO currently. And this is a fantastic lead for us, like amazing lead, because we can throw a single cross chop and just counter all the way down and leave with basically 100 energy. And the fact that my opponent is staying in here in this matchup means Core Breaker, double weak in the back, potentially a steal like a Reggie, Basti, G-Fisk. Who knows? We'll find out. But we do get the full farm down, leave with basically 100 energy, and they swap in a Medi, so I'm going to counter swap with my Lantern. And they are staying in this matchup, which tends to have me think that now at this point it's not the G-Fisk, because they would probably pivot into their G-Fisk. So it's either the Reggie or the Basti, which we see right here. And they make a fantastic catch. Props to them. But that is perfectly fine by us, because we are going to be able to get to a Surf right here. And we have all of that loaded energy on our Obstagoon, just waiting to come back in. So we throw one more counter, then the cross chop for good timing. This will get the Bastiodon on very low, and then another counter, and then another cross chop, which will be taking out the Bastiodon. And look at that, we have a 3rd move still because of all that energy we were able to get from the Lickitung, which will give some nice chip to the Medicham. And now I do bring in my Lantern here to force the Medicham to throw and waste its energy. And now I can safely bring in the Noctowl and get to either farm down or get to the back-to-back sky attacks safely if I'm not able to farm down in time. I let this first move go through just in case they try and bait me with a power-up punch and then land a boosted psychic or ice punch at the end. But it seems like there were an ice punch psychic Medicham, which is good for us. Next matchup, GG's by the way. Next matchup, Obstagoon into Dunsparce, another great lead. They're gonna swap into Medicham, and now this is difficult because a Medicham swap, you have to meet it with your Noctowl, but it's a baiting game because if the Medicham is successfully able to land a psychic against your Noctowl, they can counter all the way down to shield and then counter your Noctowl all the way down and take switch. But also, if you successfully get baited, which I do right here, your opponent can do the same, 2 shield and farm all the way down. So it becomes a baiting game with the Noctowl being counter swapped into the Medicham. Unfortunate we did not quite get it right this time, but that is okay. We'll see what we can do. And at this point, we do have 1 win. Looking for 2 more, and my opponent actually gives up switching back into their Dunsparce, which now is allowing my Obstagoon to have a ton of play, as we can successfully tank 2 drill runs here. Be throwing off my first cross chop. Gonna let the second one go through, and this is great because once the Medi comes back in, it's gonna get minimal farm against my Obstagoon as well. Seems like my opponent is waiting out their clock, waiting to see what comes in. And it's a Noctowl actually. So this is going to allow me to get off both of my Night Slashes instead of just a single Night Slash if the Medi was to come in, which is absolutely fantastic. Now I'm going to instantly swap into my Lantern, farm up just before 100 energy, throw this Thunderbolt, take out the Noctowl, and we do leave with a Surf to handle this Medicham. We do let this move go, and it ends up being a fantastic call for us as they try and power punch bait. Surf lands, 2 more Sparks finish the job, and now we are 2-0 in the set, looking for that 3rd win. Next matchup, Obstagoon into Sableye. Again, fantastic lead for us. See what my opponent is, and they're staying in just like last time. So potentially weak in the back as well. We'll have to find out. First Night Slash lands. Sadly, no boost again. Will second Night Slash be the charm? And this one goes straight for the return. We are able to successfully shield it, and that's fantastic. And now my opponent swaps in a Lantern. I don't have a great answer for this Lantern safe swap. So I'm going to stay in with my Obstagoon and throw off these 2 Night Slashes with all the loaded energy that I have. Because again, my Noctowl is a good answer for that Sableye as well. I do call the Lantern going for a Surf, which then allows me to get to another Night Slash on the CMP tie. And now here I'm debating, do I shield and guarantee myself switch, or do I let it go and risk being farmed down before I farm them down? But it ends up being a simul. So now it's a 50-50 call. Are they going to come in with the Noctowl, or the Sableye, excuse me, or their 3rd? And I end up getting my Lantern aligned to their Sableye. So that's a little unfortunate because if they are double weak in the back like we are expecting, that now gets aligned to my Noctowl. But hopefully I'm able to keep my Lantern alive with enough HP to deal with it, and it ends up being a Registeel. So now this is going to be tricky because Noctowl doesn't have much play here, but luckily they do swap out. I will throw off this Thunderbolt first just in case they do get the Zap Cannon debuff, so I can get off as much damage as I can, and now they get the debuff again. And that's a little unfortunate for us because now this Thunderbolt isn't going to do as much damage. And I maybe could have gone for 2 Surfs there, but I didn't want to risk them getting to another move and only being able to get off 1 Surf as opposed to 1 Thunderbolt. And now in this situation, I have to commit to the Wing Attack farm down since they still have a shield left. We are able to take a Zap Cannon, but just barely. And now since they bring back in their Sableye, I'm going to have to outpace to this next Sky Attack. Can I do it? The Sableye gets there 1 fast move before we do and is able to take out my Noctowl and take the game. GG's to my opponent. Very well played by them. And now we fall 2-1 in the set. Next matchup, Lickitung Lead. Another great lead for us. Are they going to stay in or swap out on this one? They swap out into a Surfetched. So now I'm instantly thinking that this is a very popular Licky double fighter line, in which case my Obstagoon has very, very little play. Make a little misplay here. I let them get it to another Night Slash before I get off my Sky Attack. And unfortunately, because they get the boost, that's going to put us in a very bad situation. Because I would be fine giving up switch advantage here in order to take both of their shields and hoping that Lantern can sweep. But because they got the boost, we're only able to get to throw off 1 Sky Attack before getting countered down from the Surfetched. So we are in a very tough spot right here. We are able to land a Thunderbolt. And we get baited with a Body Slam on top of that. Everything going wrong for us in this game. Our opponent making all the right calls. Next Thunderbolt comes through. A swap. I am able to catch this Power Whip onto my Obstagoon, which is great for us. But they have a Shadow Machamp. Able to counter down my Obstagoon before I get to another move. And my opponent can easily just shield this one and then get to this cross chop to take out my Lantern. Plus 1 more counter. GG's to my opponent. We played that very, very well. And heading into Game 5, decisive Game 5, as we are at a 2-2 right now. Another Sableye lead. Fantastic lead for us. And our opponent top lefts right away. What a way to end the set and get Legend. And because of that, I'm going to include a little bonus battle at the end where I want to show you guys, as a thanks for sticking around for this long, how to play out the Grasshole teams or the Basti, Trevenant, Medi teams, which have been so prominent this season. You're going to immediately want to counter swap your Noctowl into the Trevenant, and you just commit to the farm down. You don't throw a single move, because by doing this, you're able to stall the switch clock as you want to be able to save your Noctowl for later in the match. So I'm going to throw 1 more Wing Attack right here and then the Shadow Ball. And once the Shadow Ball comes out, I'm actually going to pivot right back into my Obstagoon because Lantern can still deal with the Bastiodon. And I need to save that Noctowl to deal with either, potentially a Tropius or Shadow Vic in a Grass Hole, or in this case, the Medicham. You may think, well, it's bad because you have your Obstagoon aligned to Medicham. No, we're able to get a pretty good amount of chip damage off into the Medicham. So all we do is shield right here. Throw off this Sky Attack, which will take out the Medicham if they let it go, but they don't. They give up their first shield. And now after all this Sky Attack chip damage, the Medi is more than well enough in Surf range. So we are going to throw this Surf right here. This will be taking out the Medicham if they decide to let it go, which they do. And now, even at a shield deficit, Lantern is successfully able to take a Stone Edge and get to the Surfs to take out the Bastiodon. And you'll see that it is relatively close, that we are able to take this on red health, but it's very, very consistent that every single time you play out this matchup this way, your Lantern will be able to get the victory on red health basically every time. And that is the end of that. So now we're going to take a look at that 3-2 set we got. What will our elo go up to? 3008. Get legend, get the screenshot. Rewards coming through. The Steven pose 2. Now we're going to take a look at that. Head into our style, go into our poses, switching out the season 12 legend pose for the season 13 Steven pose 2. The thinker, the ponderer. Wonder what he's thinking about. How this team was able to get him to legend, how it ends up being such a good team. And because also got the Pika Libre encounter on Go Battle Weekend, we're able to get one under 500 CP for the Little Cup. And what's even better, it has fantastic IVs for the Little Cup for us. So we're going to favorite it, appropriately name it Season 13 Legend, and that will be that. Every time the Open Great League's been around, I have been running this line, and I have had very steady and consistent gains with it. So if you are looking for a solid team to try out, this is a very viable option. And again, as I said in the beginning of the video, please feel free to reach out to me and comment down below asking any question you have regarding this team and what to do in a specific situation or lead. I'd love to help out. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.